Hi guys, Kurt Provost here, your guide to all things new skin. Let's talk about objections, because inevitably we do encounter objections when we're out there sharing these products or this business opportunity with the world. However, there's not that many objections that we encounter. They seem to be recycled or just the same thing rephrased time and time again. And you do tend to encounter more objections earlier on in your business. I think it has something to do with your own posturing, your own self-confidence and certainty around what this is, what you're part of. And as you build up those three key beliefs, the belief in the product, the belief in the company, and most importantly, the belief in yourself, objections, they don't totally disappear, but they do seem to fade away or they minimize. Whereas in the early days, they seem like these impenetrable walls that you've got to try and surmount somehow. So the most common objections, in my experience, have been to do with time, money, it's a scam, or it's they don't like network marketing, it's MLM, something like that. So those four different objections. Let's unpack each one of these, and I'll see if I can offer some advice around that, or just my perspective on those. So the first one is time. I think this is this one is really telling. It shows you their interest level if people are using this objection. Because we all have the same 24 hours in a day. No doubt people are busy. We have our days filled up with stuff, but a lot of that stuff isn't really necessary. You see, this isn't so much about time, it's more about priority. And so if someone prioritizes something, if they view this as being valuable enough and important enough to them to prioritize, they will find the time. And that's why you see mothers. I mean, there's a mother in New Zealand who has 11, I think she's had another kid, 12 children, and somehow she's still a Blue Diamond leader, despite having a family of 12. Like, just picture how busy that woman must have been and still is. And yet in the cracks of time between the different things that are demanding her attention on any given day, she managed to do the work that was necessary. And so that is because, well, obviously that's because she prioritized and she saw that this business was important enough to carve out some time to build it and do that consistently. Now, the people that do that, regardless of how much time they're actually spending on it, they will eventually build something of substance, just like this woman has. It's quite an incredible achievement. And so time, it's how to solve that, how to answer that. Well, I try and gently educate people or bring their awareness to the idea that, you know what, everyone's got 24 hours in the day. However, it's how we use those 24 hours that is going to change the results that we get later on in our life. And so ultimately, if you're happy with what you've got right now, if you're happy with your life, if you don't need anything else in it, then we probably have no business with each other. So if you know someone who isn't happy and who wants to do something about it, then point me in their direction and let's go that way, and I'd get a referral out of it. However, if they're unhappy, as many people are not satisfied with their current lot in life, and they want to change that, and they're hungry to change that, then just reminding them of that or bringing their awareness to it is usually enough to dissolve that objection of I don't have enough time. And you can ask questions. Questions, they are the step ladders that will get you over that insurmountable, seemingly insurmountable wall that is objections in the early days. So the more questions you ask, the more people can climb over those objections and get to the other side. So asking someone, well, how do you spend your time during the day? How many hours of TV do you watch per week? I mean, how many hours do you spend scrolling on social media? Do you think that perhaps you could set aside 15 minutes of that scrolling time, of the 3 hours that you spend each day doing that, and use it to create some posts, to do some prospecting, to talk to people about these products or this business? Do you think that is possible? And that can start to open up their mind as to how they can actually do it from there, and how much time they have available to them, because I guarantee you most of us are wasting a lot of time every single day. And that's crazy, because that is our lives gone. All right, next one is money. So money is probably the most common objection that you will face or are likely to face. And that's also a case of prioritizing things, because if someone says, well, I don't have enough money, number one, they're probably being very honest with you. They might truly believe that they don't have enough money. Quite often people will, if they don't have enough money to afford something, they'll give a different objection. They'll critique some aspect of the product, a little obscure ingredient in the product, the fact that this is made of plastic, or whatever tiny thing that it is that they'll focus on. It's often because they don't want to spend money. And they don't want to spend money because they haven't seen the value in the product yet. They don't see that they really need that, or that it's worth the money just yet. So there's many different ways that you can get around that. I recommend checking out this video they did on some psychological factors of what influences us, and using different comparisons can be really, really beneficial. So if you start off with the most expensive thing, then obviously the next thing is going to seem much cheaper in comparison to that. So maybe if someone came into a meeting and they intended on only spending $100, but you start off by showing them something that is $600, and then you show them something that is $500, and then the next thing is $250. The $250 seems cheap compared to those, and more likely than not, people will walk out of that room spending much more than that $100, because of the comparison that kind of set the precedence, and they're comparing it against. Now, if someone says something is too expensive, I simply ask them, compared to what? Because it's really important what they're comparing it with. Now, if you're comparing, let's say, the LumiSpa, as you see over my shoulder there, and someone says, oh, I wish it wasn't so expensive, and I would ask them, compared to what? Like, what are you comparing that with? Maybe they're comparing it with the $20 piece of rubbish that will end up in landfill in a month's time and does absolutely nothing for your skin, but it's cheap. Maybe they're comparing it with that and saying, well, these are like kind of similar, so LumiSpa is expensive compared to that thing, except that thing does nothing for you. It is a complete waste of money. So that is the most expensive thing, even if it is $20 compared with $150 or $200 or $300. Because for that one, you're investing the money and you're getting a result. For this one, you get nothing. You may as well burn your money and you get the same achievement. So it all depends on what they're comparing things with. That is generally the pathway I take when someone brings up a money or price objection. All right, the next one is probably the most terrifying one of all for network marketers, and that is it's a pyramid scheme, or it's a scam, or it sounds too good to be true. It's all around that scam ideology. I mean, we're skeptical people, and rightly so. There are a lot of different scams out there that are trying to get your money, and I can completely understand being careful and doing your due diligence, as long as someone isn't just using that as an excuse to be lazy and not look into something and just labeling it, that's a scam, and then they don't have to look into it anymore. I do think that is quite often the case. However, if someone says to me, is that one of those pyramid things? It really depends on how they say it to me with what I will respond with. So I generally find there's two different ways that people will say that. They will say it like this, is that one of those pyramid things? That's coming from a place of uncertainty and curiosity. They want to know what it is. They're not really sure. They've kind of heard that there's this thing out there called a pyramid scheme that's not good, but they don't fully understand what it is. That is fantastic, because you can educate them on what it is and what is the difference between network marketing, a legitimate network marketing and multi-level marketing company, and a pyramid scheme. If you're not sure what that distinction is, check out my video here. The second way that people will ask that is that one of those pyramid things? You see, that's much more aggressive and it's more on the attack. Generally, there's a lot of emotion behind that, so you want to give them an opportunity to offload a bit of that emotion and dig down deeper, because if you just try and answer that, you have no idea. It's just the tip of the iceberg. You have no idea of the emotional body that is hiding under the water there, and you could get absolutely crushed by it. So what you need to do, or what I do in this situation, is I say, wow, sounds like you've had an interesting experience with that. Mind sharing? And I just try and get them to unpack and unburden themselves of that story and that experience. The more I hear of it, the more I can provide a counter perspective and say, that sucks, that experience, truly horrific. I would view this industry the same way too if I was invited to dinner and ambushed with a presentation with whiteboards and people drawing circles. I'd be traumatized by that as well. But what you need to understand and appreciate is this, what I'm showing you right now, is not that. It's something very different. And also, I don't do business in that way. And it comes down to the individual. Even if someone has had a bad experience within Nu Skin, not just with another company in the network marketing industry, but within Nu Skin in general, then I would still make the distinction that, that is just a completely different person running their business in a greedy way. I am not that. My team is not that. We do it in a different way, and you have the choice to do it in a very different way as well. So that kind of answers the fourth objection, which is network marketing, multi-level marketing, because some people, many people, have had bad experience or a negative experience, or they've heard of someone who's had a negative experience within this industry, and so it's tarnished somewhat as a result of that. Now, you can get angry at other people for doing the business in the wrong way, or you can also be grateful for them, because that is part of the reason why not everyone is doing this business, and that is part of the reason why it is such a lucrative business, because if everyone was doing this, there's no opportunity. Like it's everyone would already be using these products. Your friends would already be using the products, and they would be using them signed up with someone else, and the business would be supporting a lot of people, that's for sure. However, the opportunity for you to go out and carve up your own empire, your own slice of a massive market, would cease to exist. So be grateful that this is difficult, that there is this scar tissue out there in society, and that you have the opportunity to build the business in a better way, to be the change that you really want to see within the network marketing industry. Because I truly believe that when this business is done right, when it is done well, it is the best business on earth. It's incredible. It creates a lifestyle that is very difficult for people to believe until they experience it themselves. So the best way to handle the multi-level marketing objection, I don't like network marketing, I won't touch that, is again with questions to find out what their negative experience was, because that judgment has to have come from somewhere, and you need to find out where that judgment has come from. Sometimes it's come from, or quite often it's come from absolutely nowhere. They've had no experience. It's just come from hearsay from someone else. And if you can bring their awareness to that fact, if you can reveal that through questions, that, oh, hold on, I just decided something about an entire industry without ever experiencing it myself, that's a little bit crazy, then there is a chance that they can actually change their mind. You ramming information down their throat without knowing where they're coming from is less likely to be effective. So that's my thoughts on the main objections that we encounter within this business as you're out there building your Nu Skin business. Alright guys, my name is Kurt Provost. That's everything for today. Please give the video a big thumbs up, leave a comment, and be sure to subscribe and turn on the notifications to be notified next time I create a video like this. And I'll see you in that video. Ciao guys.